right. Well, welcome to the Guitar Vets Guitar Shop. I'm Tom Lamog. I'm an instructor with the Cyber Chapter and with Cav Arts, the Challenge America Veteran Arts Community. And for the next hour, we're going to put the spotlight on guitars, playing them, accessorizing them, keeping them playable, and even what makes them do what they do. The Guitar Shop is scheduled for every second Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be featuring a lively panel discussion with our own G4V instructors, along with guitar players and other various skill levels within our Cav Arts community. We're also planning on lining up conversations with professionals working in the industry for the insights on things relating to guitars. And we may even sneak in a singer-songwriter, guitar player every now and then to share some of their guitar stories and music with us. But before we go any further, let me introduce you to my colleague and our show's host, Daniel Bigelow Jr., who is also an instructor with the Guitars for Vets Cyber Chapter. You may have recently seen Dan co-facilitating the G4V Book Club and contributing as my wingman, filling in with riffs and licks at the iJam play-alongs that we do. Dan's also provided mentoring to a number of veterans who aspire to become guitar players through the G4V and Cav Arts program, and I'm really thrilled to have him join me. So please welcome Daniel Bigelow Jr.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tom. My mentor right there. This is going to be such a great forum for everyone, all skill levels. We wish to show beginners what their options are for as far as the guitar goes. Like Tom says, everything there is to talk about. We'll go into electric, we'll go acoustic, we'll go exotic. We will try to cover as much as we can in our short lifetime because it would take a lifetime to say everything there is about our favorite instrument, the guitar. All you folks that are experienced, we would really love to hear from you. If you have something you want to say, email Tom or I if you have suggestions, right, Tom?
That's right, of course, yeah.
And
let us know.
There's so many things to have a little show and tell.
And we should tell you this. We should tell you this. How do we know this is going to last a lifetime? Because between Daniel, myself, and with Paul, and you'll be meeting Randy and Rich here in just a moment, the discussions went on for seemingly hours. So I don't believe we're going to have any shortage of content whatsoever. And with you joining us to contribute to the conversation, whether it be questions or comments or experiences, we'd love to hear from you. Want to make sure that you're aware of the chat feature. And again, our group will keep an eye, both Paul, myself, and Daniel will be checking things out on the thread, so make sure to throw in your questions and comments. I'd also like to introduce to you Randy Bushee, who is one of the G4V, one of our tenured instructors as well too. Randy's joining us today. How you doing, Randy?
Doing wonderful.
Good to have you. With any opening thoughts about the Guitar Shop, or any comments in the planning processes that we've endured together over the last few weeks?
I like what Daniel was saying about different levels. You've got people that are brand new to it. They may be amazed at the number of guitars that are out there. Then there's some other folks that have been around a while. They've probably got a wall full of guitars like I do. It becomes a disease after a while, So I'll try to talk to both levels if I can, just to talk about the kinds of guitars and what to go for when you go buy one.
That's great. And you know what? I guess we should say this now. If you only own one guitar, boy, are you in for a treat, because we're gonna throw some really cool things your way to consider possibly your next acquisition. All right.
Hey, Tom, I just want to say that Randy looks very dapper in his Guitars for Vets polo.
Oh,
thank you.
Please. Yes, which you can find on the Guitars for Vets site at the store.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Rich Haas, I have to say, this is also an opportunity for you to go ahead and step out of the background and into the forefront for us And oh, there I go. Speaking of
And there
background,
he went.
forefront. Yeah, exactly. It's that technology. Um, but Rich Haas has been helping us develop the program over the last few weeks. This is our first program, and I've got to fix my my screen here. But hey, Rich, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been building and restoring guitars for about 15 or 20 years. I've been real fortunate to be able to work with the Denver group doing a lot of their repairs because we get donations. So I've had a lot of experience fixing guitars that have been ignored and abused for years. So I enjoy that challenge. Um, what I do come here to say is there are millions of opinions about building and playing and choosing guitars. And unfortunately, musicians musicians are kind of a funny breed of people. You know, we have some rules, but we have more exceptions than we have rules. So for everything that we think is a standard, we can find a whole lot of alternatives to it. So there aren't that many really hard facts. There's a lot of taste and a lot of judgment in everything we play and do. So uh, I'll do everything I can to confuse you, but try to keep it simple.
Real good. And we're all, I believe we're all on CavArts on the Guitars for Vets Learning Center. We're all accessible, we're all available to you, as well as the community themselves. It goes beyond just the five of us that you see here on screen to everyone who's attending as well. And yeah, I encourage you to go ahead and share your thoughts, your comments, your questions, and hopefully one of us or any member of the community will respond. So let's go ahead and start. Let's take a look at the program agenda today. We're planning in today's live event to talk about acoustic guitar types, guitar tone woods, talk a little bit about the popular brands, and then each of the instructors has brought a guitar that they want to go ahead and share a little bit about, maybe a little story behind what it is that motivated them to acquire that guitar. We'll close with the guitar tip of the month. And let me first say while acoustic guitars typically follow the same form factor, there are some minor differences in shape, the materials, and in the build themselves, the way that they're put together, creating differences in tones. So today we're going to take a closer look to how that all works. How does it affect feel and playability? And to start us off with that, let me go ahead and throw it to Randy. Randy, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of bring you into the discussion right now, as
All
you are
right.
a man who's obviously touched a lot of guitars. Maybe you can share a little bit about you and your relationship with guitars first.
I think Rich has a lot more experience building them than I do. I put together these little kits like you get with an airplane kit, you know. Basically, folks, I just wanted to quickly name off some of the types of guitars that are out there. And it's very individualized. I mean, everybody wants something different, you know. It can get real technical, or it can be for beginners, you know, what's it made of and how's it made and so forth. But you got parlor guitars, orchestra guitars, dreadnought guitars, jumbo, whatever style of music you want to play, there's a guitar for it. And that's one of the things that can get overwhelming. And that's why you see my wall full of guitars back there. Is I buy a guitar every other day, it seems like. And my wife will tell you that. But there's different reasons. Everybody's got their own way of learning and their own way of acquiring their instruments. It's just like cars. You know, cars are all original cars are more expensive than the ones that are all souped up sometimes. Same with the guitars. They're collectible, and depending on what you did with them when you had them, they might be worth some money to you someday. So keep that in mind. So there's just a different reason for all of us to do this, and I hope that you find yours. And if you do, I think you'll find the guitar a pathway to a lot of enjoyment.
I want to share my screen here. The different types of guitars that are out there. This is something that Rich had shared with us. And to your point, Randy, Rich, you want to talk a little bit about what this graphic shows here? These are different types of acoustic guitars.
No, this is based on Martin Guitars standards. Like I said, there are exceptions, and there are lots of builders out there that do stuff in between and call them different names. But this Martin guitars is kind of the standard. So,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, I get confused. I think a lot of people get confused with the double O, triple O type designations. Those are really become popular. So what's happened is we're finding manufacturers kind of manipulating those dimensions and stuff. But not to get too terribly confused, if you look across the top, most of the guitars have got about the same length of box. Worrying about the dimensions of a guitar, don't have to get into the mathematics or the tape measure. It's more about comfort when it's sitting in your lap or you're hanging it off a strap. So these are the basic styles. I emphasize the parlor, which is the smallest guitar, and then you'll find a lot of commonality between the double O's and triple O's and the orchestra models. And notice what really changes on most guitars is the waist and then the bottom bout, the bottom half of the guitar. What really happens is the bigger the bottom of the guitar is, the bigger the box, the more boom you get or the more volume you get out of the guitar. And typically, the tighter the waist, the better the trebles sound, the more clear they sound. So that's kind of enough of the physics of it without getting too wrapped up in it. So when you're looking for guitar, one of the things you think about is, do I want to project a lot of volume, or do I really want to finger pick it and really accentuate the fine notes? Does that help any,
Rich,
Randy?
could you explain why that one, the Grand Auditorium, has a cutout?
Yeah, you can put that cutaway on any guitar. Builders can put them on any guitar. I don't like them because they're really hard to build. So I screw those up more than anything. And it's, basically most of your guitars are a 14 fretter. Most acoustic players don't get to playing a whole lot higher than the 14th or 16th fret. And that cutaway lets you reach those higher frets. And that can be put on any guitar. As a builder, I say that kind of cuts down on the treble notes because you've cut down some square inches or area on your soundboard. But anyways, that can be added to any guitar when it's being built.
Real good. Hey, yeah, I
Thank you.
had stopped into a music shop in Eugene. It's Mackenzie River Music, and I talked to one of their luthiers about this convention that they use, the naming convention, the double O and the triple O and all that. And it turns out, at least the way that he understood it, was Martin has been around the longest, or a very long time, to create that standard. And from that standard, the other makers followed suit. Of course, they made their own with their own names as well too. But you're not going to see, say, for instance, at least I didn't find Taylor actually in there using that double O and triple O in there. So it's good. It's interesting to know what Martin's role in all of the creation of acoustic guitars is. For the Grand Auditorium itself, at least because I own a couple of Grand Auditoriums and they all have the cutouts, and this is something new to me. If that is a distinct feature of it being a Grand Auditorium, is that cutaway? Wow, thanks for the tip.
We do have a question that's kind of pertinent to what Rich was talking about. The question was, can you point out what the waist is on the body?
Sure. The waist is the middle of the sound box where it goes in. I don't know if I can. So if you look at this guitar right here, this is called the upper bout on top of the sound hole.
Oh,
and then the
sorry, I
bigger
thought you were
piece.
holding one.
Oh, well, I could do that
Would you like to
too.
demonstrate with your guitar? It's much more fun.
I just
that way.
thought I'd
It's more interactive.
give
isn't
a
it?
little
Love
bit
that.
Oh,
of a
another
little bit of a
one.
picture.
This has got a little more accentuated waist. Am
Yeah.
I on here? Okay. So this is considered the upper bout. This is the lower bout, and this is the waist. And as a matter of fact, Tom, I sent a graphic of Martin and Gibson silhouettes.
Yes.
Can you
I gotta
post that?
Yeah, I'll save.
You
Oh
got it.
yeah.
This is fun
Nice.
to look at. This is the profile of the Fender guitar, okay? And where it comes in, that's the waist right there. So you can see if you look at all of their models, the lower bouts, they get bigger. The upper bouts get a little bit bigger. The length of the guitar box isn't a whole lot different, but the waist is what really makes the big difference in the sound.
These are all Gibson. These are all
Yeah,
Gibson.
those are all Gibson. There's another
Okay.
one of Martin.
Oh,
They're the
down
two biggest
below. Martin, here it
There you
is.
go.
There it
There's
is.
the Martin
Martin. There we
standard.
go. All right.
Okay, so
So you can tell.
Martin doesn't do much of the 05s. That's more of your parlor size guitars, and you can see they're real. There's the blue line. They're really smaller guitars. So, the standard guitar, of course, is the Dreadnought for most of us. That's the green line. See, it doesn't have very much of a waist, and it's got more surface area on that soundboard. And that's why Martin Dreadnoughts are known for having a lot of boom. They've got a lot of volume, a lot of bass. And
So
then
Rich, is the idea that the broader and lower or larger the lower bout, how that affects tone versus say like a parlor guitar's bout?
right, yes. Well, this is a parlor size. Can you hear that? This is broken in pretty well. Okay, let me get a Dreadnought. That bass is just a lot louder. It has a lot more resonance to it. So that's why, a lot of your strummers, a lot of your country music people like those bigger guitars, the Dreadnoughts and the Jumbos, because they just project a lot more. Now, some people would argue that's not so important nowadays with all the electronics and stuff, because you can always accentuate the sound and the volume with amplifiers and pickups. But we're talking about pure acoustics. So the bigger the bout, the more volume you'll get. The tighter the waist, usually the nice bright trebles that you can hear. Yeah.
I mean, if you're interested in really finding out more about tones, I'll tell you what, there are a couple of different resources online where you can actually sit down and do a side-by-side comparison. And sweetwater.com, one of my favorite sites, although
I do.
it may not be, and I can't see why it wouldn't be. They actually have, and I'll go ahead and post this online later. They have, I'm going to share this, a listing. It is of a number of the guitars that they sell, and they've recorded them in an environment that's very similar, so you can hear what some of these sound like. So tell me, you'll have to tell me if you can hear this. Here, this is the first one will be a Yamaha FS 800 concert acoustic. That's a concert acoustic. Did that come through all right?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay,
I heard it.
let me go ahead and play a parlor guitar. So similar to what Rich has. This is a PRS. Here's the Gibson acoustic, Dreadnought. A little deeper, bassier, some crisp highs. All right, so here you'll find this on the Sweetwater, the buying guide itself. But I encourage you to definitely get your hands on these guitars, or at least go online and see if you can find places that'll do a side-by-side comparison, including the one that was posted recently on the G4V Learning Center. Do tone woods really matter? For some, no, not really. But if you want to get into the science of that, just like we're just talking about, highs, lows, mids, they're all affected by the tone woods, whether it's the top or the sides or the back. So thoughts on that, Rich?
Yeah, one interesting point. The guitar sounds a whole lot different to the player than it does to the person in front of the guitar, the listener. And what's really fun is if you're playing a guitar as the player, you fall in love with it. And then if you give it to someone else to play it to you, they sound differently.
Huh.
And it's really fun and it's scary because then you're not sure what you're buying. And the other thing to keep in mind is when a guitar is brand new, if it has a solid wood top, it's going to feel a little stiff. But if you play it hard, eventually she opens up. That wood opens up and starts breathing, and then the sounds get a little bit warmer and a little bit sweeter. So the guitar you grab off the rack is a little bit more stiff than the one that you're going to make it develop into. So that's two things to keep in mind. Not that it impacts your buying, but it's just an interesting thing to study as you go along.
You know, you had put together a checklist of
Yes, I did.
things, and I'm thinking that hey, I know that both Randy and I don't have problems with acquiring more guitars, but I can tell you from
Me either.
Dan, on the other hand, you're the good guy, right?
No. My wife is complaining I'm taking up the living room now.
Oh, you've overrun the house. But listen, I know that there are considerations. There are because where do you begin? I mean, we've touched on woods, we've touched on guitar types, the bodies themselves. We haven't even touched about, do I want to go with a name brand or do I want to go with an off brand? Do I want to go
Nylon steel.
yeah, see, here we go. This can take off for more than
Yeah.
an hour right now.
Oh,
So,
yeah, for sure.
and we haven't
Yes.
even touched about fretboards, the neck. We haven't talked about that or the tuners or any of the accessories. But this is what we're going to look forward to in coming guitar shops as well too, right, Dan? But anyway, Rich, you've got you said that there's a lot of good things that you think about, considerations. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that, and I'll bring that for you right now.
All right, great. Basically, there are two categories of considerations, and the most important one, obviously, is the personal things, and then there are some technical issues. So basically, and I think most people will agree, after your first guitar, you're really interested in how playable is it, how comfortable is it to play, how does it affect my ergonomics, and does it sound as sweet as I want? Um, I just say somewheres along. Now, the priorities here, they're different for everyone, I think, probably. Whether it's your first guitar, your 15th guitar, um, your, your status, or whatever. But, anyways, I try to recommend to people understand what your budget range is. When you walk into a guitar store, everybody gravitates towards the top shelf, the three, four, $5,000 guitars. But if you're really on a budget, you really only want to spend a couple of $100. Don't get all enamored with that. So it's good to at least have a good idea what your budget range is. Not to say that you shouldn't play an expensive guitar just so that you know what is possible. Sound is really critical. Now, fortunately for me, I'm half tone deaf, so I don't have as big an emphasis on tone. But I can feel the bass. I can feel when it's bright and got good balance. And like I say, it's a good experiment to play the guitar, decide if you like the sound, and then ask the salesperson or a friend or someone to play it towards you and listen to it. My problem is I've got a couple of friends who are professional guitarists, so they always make them sound better, which is kind of disturbing for me. But anyways, they give you a good ear of what the potential is. And the ergonomics of a guitar, item 3, the feel is really critical. If you don't like the sound and if you're not comfortable playing, you won't play the guitar. And that's kind of one of my problems. So, you want to make sure that you can play it, be comfortable, get your arm around it, strum it right. The fretboard feels good to you. Feeling is, I think, probably as important as the sound because you can always adjust yourself to the sound. And depending on what type of music, if you play like me, you don't play that well, the sound's not as critical. So if you want to practice guitar, it's good to have it to be real comfortable.
Let me just ask you this, 'cause, this is kind of like something we can kind of talk about because feel and comfortability was, again, this was an issue that was brought up on
very
the
important.
last poll that we did. But here, I mean, let's talk about some of these different guitars that exist, acoustic guitar bodies. They include, your standard square back. It's right, flush against your body and all. But what about those round backs, those carbon, The ones that are fiberglass that like Ovation
Sure.
used to make. I mean, those are
Right.
considerations as well too. If you come into those, do you buy it? Do you get it? I don't know of this panel. How many of you have played a round back guitar? And
I
did you
have.
like it?
Yes.
Did you
Oh, yeah.
dislike it? Not
I
not a
did.
fan, huh? Yeah.
No. No. I
Yeah,
think,
it's
there's a difference if you use a strap, a shoulder strap, you can tolerate a lot more. I don't, because it's just another thing to fiddle with. So yeah, and also
yeah.
the depth of the guitar impacts a lot.
Absolutely. And you just mentioned strap. And how many of you guys do you prefer strap, even while you're sitting? And I can tell you sometimes when I'm doing like the video lessons or the live events, I will go ahead and strap it on so I don't have to think about it falling off or I have to hold it in place. But there are times where it's like, no, I don't need a strap. But what do you guys think about a strap and the comfortability?
I can't play without a strap myself.
Really. I
Yeah.
don't like a strap. I like to have that back up against my belly and my chest. I like that vibration. And I just, like I say, a strap is just another thing that gets in my way. If the guitar is well balanced and the waist fits my knee, it should hold itself.
Bruce Bjork
Good point.
over here is showing the point exactly.
Where is that, Bruce? Where is that? I gotta find him
He's
so I
up
can-
there.
where Bruce, we're coming for you, Bruce, next time because yeah, we know you've got it. But there, wait a second. I'm gonna go ahead and add him right now to the
Hey, Rich, I like to use a strap because then I could put some beetle pins on it.
That's a good idea.
Oh, no.
All right, Bruce. Now's your minute in the sun here. Show us what you.
I always use a strap. I use a strap for guitar, dobro, especially the dobro, because I'm not holding it because
Oh.
it's flat and it's real easy to fall. But I always use a strap. And most of the time when I'm playing out, I'm standing up too. So but I use
That makes a big difference.
yeah, and I use straps for on my banjos. All of my instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, so thanks, Bruce. Good to see you. We're gonna come for you next month. So.
We're gunning for you, Bruce. We're gunning for you.
Another one of our tenured instructors. So let's now talk about, all right, playability, because this again was something that was brought up. What are some of the things that are key, that are essential to making a guitar playable? For me, it's like those strings better not be too high off the fretboard, because it's like I don't want to be pressing hard and all that stuff. But what are your guys' thoughts on playability, starting with the fretboard?
I like a real low action personally. I strive in the guitars that I build to get them where the intonation's perfect and the setup, I'm trying to say, which is what
Yeah.
you described.
Can you let's talk about action in case these are our new players. The action itself, what does that mean?
That's your fingers against the fingerboard with the string in between. Basically, you've got to get used to that feel, and it can be if they're too high, it's hard to press them down. If they're too low, they rattle and buzz. So you have to. The measurements are in minute things, centimeters and so forth. So
You mean
it can get real technical.
they're not all set at the same height? Is that
Right.
what you're saying? Yeah,
Well, yeah. Some people
Oh.
want them real high. Some people want them real low.
Yeah, and the setup doesn't always have to be a deal breaker. It can be adjusted with the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So the critical piece is that the neck be straight, so that the action can be adjusted. So you've got to have a baseline, which is a flat fingerboard and a flat top, and then the nut and the saddle adjust the action if everything else is good. And those can be adjusted. So I say a high action isn't always a deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, some players
dobro.
like high.
Totally.
That's
His,
a different program.
I'm sure
Sure.
that Bruce likes his strings on his resonators a little bit higher,
Right. Yeah,
especially since you're using a bar, a slide bar on it.
absolutely.
So there is purpose to having
Yeah.
a high action.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one
I
difference
just-
between. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I personally, because I do a lot of soloing, I prefer closer action, as close as I can get it.
Really. See, that's one difference between a classical and a flamenco guitar. They're basically the same body, but
Hmm.
it depends on the player. So a classical guitar, the strings are higher or the action is higher because a classical player plays one note at a time and they don't want any vibrations or rattling. Flamenco guys are partiers and they're playing rastreros and they don't mind a little vibration, so their strings are lower. So that, jazz guitarists like them lower because they're chording a lot, and soloists like a little bit higher because you get a little bit more volume out of a little higher action. So anyways, that's why I say that's something that can be adjusted on most guitars.
Real good. And these are things that you can bring into your local guitar shop, or if you know
Exactly.
a friend who is familiar with that. And wait a minute, I know someone. I'm going to call out one of my students, Jacob. Why don't you tell? He's recently been back for a day long visit to a workshop. Can you tell us a little bit about that workshop and how it applies to a little bit about adjusting the guitar as well?
Yeah, it was basically a setup class. I drove out to Virginia Beach to a guy's guitar shop that builds guitars and works on them, and we went through a 6, 7 hour day of doing a full setup and learned how to check the straightness on the neck and adjust the stretch rod and adjust the nut and the
Saddle.
the saddle. Thank you. But it was for someone especially getting into guitars, it helped me learn the mechanics of the guitar, how to adjust the intonation and what exactly that means because I didn't know and understand before. So it was good to go and do that and to get to do a full setup on a guitar and know what all's involved in it.
I was just
I
going to
was just
say
going to say,
with Jacob, if you wanted to go ahead and pursue this on your own as guitar players, as musicians, I'll be honest, and I told Jacob this. I said I have never worked on my own guitar. But to be able to learn that skill for yourself, take a day to learn how to do that. It's very doable. Jacob, would you do it again?
Absolutely. It'll probably cost me a couple $100 to get the tools and stuff. I've already gotten this is what you use to check the straightness of the neck. It's got grooves to go over the frets. And so I'm gonna work on getting that stuff so that I can do it. But what really pushed me to do it was when I looked into it and started looking into what was involved in a setup at the local guitar shop. It was going to cost me the same to get my guitar set up as it was to go learn how to do it.
Right.
Cool deal. Hey, Jacob, thanks for sharing your story, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We'll see you at the next lesson.
Mr. Randy, you were going to say something.
Yeah, Randy. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. How did I have that written down now that you've asked me? The action and so forth being different for everybody, and mainly when you open the guitar owner's manual, one of the first things it says about certain things is take this to a professional. But as they were saying, there are a lot of those skills that can be learned by anybody. So don't let the professional part get in your way.
Very good. Thanks.
Yeah. When I go to check out a guitar, rather than intimidate everyone, I bring a dime and a quarter. And if I can slide my dime under the first fret, that action is real nice at the first fret. And if I can slide that quarter under the 12th fret, that's good. If it's a whole lot higher than either one of those coins at those locations, then we know that the action is too high, or if it's really hard sliding those coins in there, it's too low. So it's a quick, poor man's way of doing this. I can check the action with 35 cents. But I've also got a couple of $100 worth of tools when I come back home.
Nice.
I like that. I'll remember that.
Oh, real good. Well, let's move on to the next topic here. First of all, on the list that you've created, the checklist, Rich, that you've created, you also include playing style. Maybe you can talk a little bit about.
Well, basically, some of us are, we play with the flesh of our fingers. Some people are hard pickers. Some people really play hard. So The harder you play, the louder you play, probably the higher the action. But I mean, there's no sense in playing or looking at a classical nylon string guitar if you're really doing a lot of heavy duty rock stuff. So it's you just gotta know what you. And my problem is I like all styles, so that's why I have 20 plus guitars.
Right.
Not that
Was
I know
that
how to
why?
play any of them, but it
I
all
thought they were in
depends
your
on
shop
the mood.
under repairs.
Yeah. So
Well,
anyway,
that's
so
good.
that's it. That's just your playing style. Yeah.
Okay. The last one thing, and Rich has been kind enough to go ahead and share this list. We'll go ahead and post it on the G4V Learning Center, so you can go ahead and take a look at this checklist for yourself. New or used, right? New or used
Right.
guitar. Which one? Which way do I go? And Dan, I want to go to you first. I want to see what your thoughts are on this because I know you've been playing a while. But what are your considerations when it comes to new or used?
I have new guitars. I have used guitars. Some of the used guitars, I mean, you can come across some beauties. And sometimes maybe it needs a little bit of work. You did a little bit of work to it, and you got yourself a fine guitar, such as the one I just recently bought at a tag sale. I found a G series Takamine, which is, it's a mid-price guitar, low mid. It's around $800 or $900 when it was new, something like that. If you went to like Guitar Center, but I've always wanted one of the Takamine 6-string G series, and it was there. The price was right. Needed a little bit of work. I did the work, and now it's really a very, very playable guitar, and it's now in my arsenal. It's one of my go-tos. So new or used can be either way. When I first bought the Epiphone I have an Epiphone PR5. It's like one of those standard acoustic electrics. I bought that one new. And over the years, I've had to do work on it, depending on where it's been in the country, because it's traveled with me. But again, so that doesn't really much give me, I'm still going to have to work on a little bit. New guitars, old guitars, used guitars, vintage guitars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all a preference. It really is. If the guitar feels good to you, get it. That's what
Good
I always
advice.
say.
Good advice. It really becomes personal preference,
Mm-hmm.
and there are so many different features. So many, as Rich's checklist will show you, there are so many considerations. New and used, you be thinking about that as well too. Do you want to go with a 1978 ES335? Or do you want to go with something newer? I mean, what's really the difference? The difference may have been the woods that were available at the time, the electronics for that particular guitar. Maybe it feels better. Maybe the neck design itself, it's a little thinner. Those are all considerations. And really, the best way to do that is just to get your hands on that and sit with it and play around with it. At least that's what I'm thinking. Randy, anything to add to that?
Well, another thing you might look at too, and some people are really crazy about it. Where was it made? Was it made overseas or was it made here in the United States?
Mhm.
And I've seen both, and some of the ones that are made overseas are every bit as good as what you can buy down at your local guitar shop. So, and their costs are different, maybe more, maybe less, but that's one thing to consider too. Is do you want an original name guitar or do you want a foreign built guitar, that kind of stuff? It's just like automobiles.
Hey,
True.
Tom,
Yeah.
Stephen
Yeah.
Kimball asked about limited budgets, and I think that's a great question because
Mhm.
obviously with Guitars for Vets, when you go through our program, we gift you a guitar. For a while, they were the FG800s, which if you were to go to Sweetwater now, I think they sell for $220, $225. We're giving out the Epiphone Pro 1s right now. That's a similar price. If, I guess budget could be a term that we all differ on what it is, but obviously there are some killer first guitars that you could get for 200 bucks. And the thing,
Right.
new or used with me, it's kind of like cars. If you go used, you could get even more in terms of quality of a used guitar. You might not get the warranty and the new car smell, but you could certainly buy, up in terms of quality if you're buying used. I've done, being the chapter coordinator for the local chapter, I use Facebook Marketplace a lot, and I'll get some really good student guitars by Rogue is one of the ones that they sell for 150, 170 new. On some of these new ones, you do got to lower the action, but once you do that, they're very, very playable. They're the Ibanez's, the Alvarez's, the Epiphones, the Yamahas, they're all really, really good guitars. And by under budget, under 250, you're going to be able to get new and used guitars that will be your friends for a lot of years.
Right.
Real
Well,
good.
those guitars are made with CNC precision. So what maybe you sacrifice with the snob appeal of being hand built, they're made to exact dimensions. And
Good point.
when you're building, you're measuring a 64th or a 32nd of an inch. After a while, I just can't see it. My eyes blur. But those are precision built, those less expensive guitars. And so there's more uniformity. So yeah, the people that are really mass producing those guitars, they've got that science down. So yeah, I agree. I'd never shy away from a
So
less
much,
expensive.
so much to
And I don't
consider.
shy away
Yeah,
from used guitars because if it's got
yeah.
scratches on it, or if it's got a dirty fretboard, I know it's been played a lot, which means someone really appreciated that guitar. So if it hasn't been abused, wear and tear is a good sign. It means it's trustworthy.
Tom,
Anyway,
Another interesting thing that's going on out there as far as building guitars, and Daniel can tell us more about it. He was telling me they're making them out of three-dimensional machines by
Oh my God.
computers.
yeah.
And they use composite materials, not unlike what you'd find in an F-117 aircraft or something.
Graphite,
so,
graphite composites.
so
I'm going to bring a guy on sometime here within the next month or two. He was a student of mine. He's an engineer. He actually did a 3D printed,
Wow.
and it come out very interesting. It was a Telecaster style, and I want to have him talk about the physics that went into being able to use plastic.
Cool.
we've had a few questions. I don't know, do you want to save those for later in the agenda or?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do the show and tell now. We'll do the Q&A after, and then we'll do the tip of the month. That's what we've got for the remainder of our time together today.
We never got to Tonewood. Never got to the tone.
We
We'll
talked a
use
little.
that another show.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll have to have another station.
well, yeah, I guess so. We'll just add that to the
you do.
checklist. But the Tonewoods, again, go back, everyone. I would recommend checking out that article that's posted over at the G4V Learning Center regarding whether Tonewoods are different. And we'll make that the topic of discussion, or include that in the topic of discussion next. But hey, show and tell time. All right. Who wants to go first? Who's going to?
I'll go first.
All right. Which of your guitars, Randy, will you be sharing with us?
Y'all talked earlier about Martin guitars. They kind of started us all out. This is a Taylor guitar, Dreadnought, pretty much a standard looking guitar, but it's very competitive to the Martin guitars that are so famous and have been around for so long.
Is that vintage? Is that
it's a 92 or 93. I'm sorry, 93.
all right.
This is a really strange guitar. What's
You
missing?
can't find it in Guitar Center?
Oh, nice.
Ooh, I know. I had one of those.
It's called Boulder Creek, and
Boulder
the
Creek,
sound hole,
yeah.
the sound hole is on the
Cool.
side. So they're made in so many different ways.
And
So
do you know the story behind that sound hole up on top?
No.
It's
Hold it
primarily
up.
for the player. It's for the player. It's basically so you can hear what's coming out of the sound
Oh
hole
yeah,
itself.
for sure.
So,
I thought it was a drink cup holder.
And then they talk about acoustic guitars, but anymore all the acoustic guitars are being electrified. And this is one of the guitars we haven't really talked much about, but it doesn't have a really good arch top, but some guitars have
Sweet,
this
though.
arch in the top. And that's these jazz guitars. That's kind of what this is. It's by D'Angelico out of New York,
And
Korea,
is
by
that
way of
a
Korea.
recent acquisition, or is that something you've had for a while?
I've had it for a while, but it's
Yeah.
not the New York version. You know,
Uh-huh.
the New Yorker by this same company is worth, who knows, lots of money.
D'Angelico, they've been around. Yeah. Cool. All
But
right.
this was nice. But there's so many guitars and so many technical things. It could be overwhelming. But everybody's different. Everybody wants different things, so don't let it overwhelm you. Just enjoy it.
Nice. Thanks, Randy. Thanks.
Watch
Okay.
me next.
Rich is next. Oh no,
Okay.
he's showing the.
There's always a lot of questions about practice guitars and travel guitars. So this is my favorite.
Okay.
Nice.
Actually, it's my
Totally.
wife's favorite because she doesn't have to hear me play. I use my earphones to hear it. But this is really, it's a nice light guitar. It's a Yamaha, what do you call it? Quiet sound.
Silent guitar.
And it's
Yeah.
fun to go
Silent
through
guitar.
the airport because it fits in a case that it looks like this. So they always think you're carrying a gun or a machine gun. So the TSA guys get excited. But no,
Wow.
it's a beautiful guitar for practice. It's got great sound. You can hook it up to an amp. So
You can. It's got the tone and volume and
right,
all the
right.
effects, like reverb, and it's
Right.
got all of it
Silent.
all built in.
It's called
Yeah.
the silent guitar.
The Yamaha silent guitar.
Here's one I resurrected from the dead. This is a 1950 Martin. I guess it's a 00. This thing was all busted up, and I don't really like playing it because it's really got a narrow neck.
Ooh.
But anyway, so yeah, this thing, this is a guitar. Proves my theory about if it's blemished and worn. Those are scars that are well deserved. So I'm proud to show where I repaired this thing and brought it back to the living. So that's a nice little guitar, and because it's 70 years old, it's pretty worn. So she sounds pretty nice. And despite our chart about all the standards, here's
Wow.
another one I brought back to
Oh.
life. This is the Dini. It isn't on the standard chart. They're made in Brazil.
It's not made by Martin.
So these are, this is a fun guitar too. This thing was set in somebody's closet for several years. It's about a 1970 vintage, and the top was all shrunk in. So it took a while to bring it back, and I think I had to add a brace and rebuild the bridge on it.
Can
anyway,
you show us the back? What's the back look like?
The back, it's an old rosewood. I'm not sure.
Oh, sweet. That's beautiful. Yeah.
It doesn't have the best sound, but it's so unique. You gotta love it. Anyway, so those are my top 3 of the day.
I see you at the Renaissance Fair, on the parade route for some reason with that. That was awesome.
I bring my
Paul.
hurdy-gurdies for those.
Paul, what's your guitar you want to share
I
with
just
us?
have one, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but I purchased this guitar for just one reason. I was at a point in my life where I was flying a lot, and I needed something I could put in the overhead because I didn't want the guitar going into the belly where it could get kicked around or extreme weather temperatures and all that stuff. And I needed to be kind of indestructible. So you guys are talking about this is a carbon fiber. It's poured from a mold. It's all one piece.
Oh, wow.
It's an emerald guitar that's
One
made.
piece.
Yep, it's made
Wow.
in Ireland. It has a sound hole here with a Baggs electronic system in it. And it's not a big size guitar, and you would think by looking at it, yeah, it probably sounds very plasticky, but it's got a really nice, rich sound that seems to resonate well within the carbon fiber body. But the
Nice.
company that makes this, it's pretty funny. They talk about how indestructible it is, and on their website, back when I was looking at this thing, I've had this for, I don't know, about 10 years. They used to have videos of people hitting a golf ball with it or rowing a boat with it because it's impervious to weather. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care about weather. It stays in tune. If I'm driving in my car and it's 100 degrees and I pull it out, or if it's 0 degrees, the thing is just, the carbon fiber doesn't care what the temperature is, and it just doesn't change. So it's actually a very, very fun guitar. It's what I use for most of the teaching when I'm teaching, just because it's so portable.
Oh, true travel guitar for sure. Wow.
Does
All
it
right.
come with a whammy bar though? Can you get one?
It's built into the pedal.
Oh, but
itself.
if you hit that golf ball right, you get a nice sweet sound.
Oh gosh. Oh, thanks, Paul. Daniel, what's yours? What's your guitar? that you love?
I really didn't bring one for show and tell. I could talk about one that I do have though.
Sure.
And I should have brought it, had it ready because I didn't know that we were doing show and tell.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Hey, we're guitar players. We're supposed to be ready for the show and tell and all.
So I have a guitar Ultra V that I actually bought brand new. That's another one I bought brand new, and it was custom made. The interesting thing about that carving is that it went underwater from Hurricane Katrina. It was under 8 foot of water from the Gulf of Mexico for a couple of days. And finally, when I got to the house, of course, I thought it was gone. But basically, I redid the electronics, but the neck and the body, nothing ever split, nothing ever went out of alignment. Actually, when the luthier I had helped me with it, adjusted the neck, and there really wasn't much truss rod adjustment that needed to be done. Just a testimony for, one I thought it's my main guitar, and actually survived Hurricane Katrina.
What a story, man. Yeah.
I wish I had it right here in my hand. It's a beautiful flying V style.
Oh, geez. Well, next time, at the next,
I
which
will
by the
bring
way, which will be, what is it? February, I would say February 10th for some reason, but the next one, the next guitar shop, G4V Guitar Shop, is going to be the second Saturday of February. And I don't have a calendar. I still have 2023's calendar here in front of me, but we'll get you in time. Hey, Kathy had something that she
Hopefully.
wanted to go ahead and share.
Please.
Kathy, what you got? Go ahead and unmute.
Okay, so a little history. You can't laugh at it when I show you. So I decided, hey, I wanted to try and build a guitar, and I don't play well, so I try to build one. So this is what I came up with.
Oh man, that is the absolute best right here. Sorry,
It's
guys.
a
She's got to do this.
Lego guitar.
Oh my goodness.
Does it
And-
play? Really?
No, it actually has strings.
I bet you I might be able to do bar chords on that one.
I like
And
it.
got a couple little extra picks
There's
that
your
I
whammy
put
bar.
right there, and some knobs.
Careful on
And
the
I built an amp as well.
Let's see
Oh
it.
my goodness.
Got show and
Just for
tell.
basic understanding for somebody that knows nothing. So I have my little Fender amp,
that is great.
Want.
and in the back I actually have the speaker and
Oh,
other controls
It's so
down in there.
real. I love it.
And
Those
on
people at
top, let me
Lego.
see here. You can see I've got, the various
Oh, yeah.
components you're supposed
There
to
you are.
have.
You
Turn
are
it.
a Lego
How do you turn it up to
queen.
11? Can you turn it up to 11, please?
Oh,
Thank
and I
you.
have, I forget what you call the little pedal thing.
Oh, jeez.
Well, they didn't miss a thing.
Channel
Wow.
switching.
Even though it's
Wow.
funny, I did learn a lot. So it was pretty
Before
neat.
before you get started on your 3D printer, right?
Yeah, that'll be
Awesome.
next. But it was pretty neat.
Well, thank you. It's good to see you too, Kathy. Thanks for joining
thank
us on
you.
today's session. Hope
Thank you,
we'll see
Kathy.
you again at the next live. And so, hey, why don't we go ahead and transition over to the questions? And Paul, you
Yeah, I'll try-
want to
I'll
go
try
ahead
to-
and,
Through these
Go ahead.
real quick. Rich Junker way back asked a little bit about, is there different thicknesses with the acoustic guitars in the bodies?
Yes, there are.
The depth of the box, yes.
And how does
Yeah.
how does that affect sound?
That helps with it's like a drum. So the deeper the box, the more boom, the more bass you'll hear from it, the more resonance. The shallower, it's like a snare drum rather than a bass drum. It's going to be a little bit sharper.
Yeah, and
sound.
let me add to that, because if you compare that like the Martin Backpacker, or just a travel guitar where it's really light, not a whole lot of box, a lot of body to it, easier to carry around, but it's the depth of sound is not going to be nearly as
Right.
deep as a jumbo or a dreadnought.
Right.
Thank you. Stephen Kimball wanted to know the difference body-wise between the steel string and a nylon string.
The nylon strings are typically used for classical or folk music or flamenco, but it's a softer sound. And
It'll
you can-
use they'll use cedar. Cedar will be used for classical guitars
Yeah,
because
and-
it'll help with the softer picking to get it out there, to get a better volume out of it. And
right.
Wider neck, right? Typically on
Yeah.
a classical
Yeah,
guitar.
usually a
nylon
wider
string.
neck. Yes.
wider
It's not-
necks.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, Tom, sometimes when we're teaching the local students in person, we get vets with extremely thick fingers, and sometimes that wider neck is helpful to learn their first chords on. Michael Manchester put an idea in that I think is, if we can pull this off, I think this would be so cool. I'm imagining a camera over Rich's shoulder while he's standing over a bench with a guitar laying on it. But Michael was wondering if we couldn't do a future guitar shop on how to set up your guitar.
We've talked
Oh, we
about
will.
that. Yeah, we think there'd be a lot of benefit. Sure.
That would be
We'll
we
find
will.
someone. We'll find someone better than Rich though, because good technician can do it in a half an hour, and it takes Rich a couple hours. So
He'll do just fine.
there are
Rich.
some
Yeah.
great videos though.
Rich, are you,
We have a community of talented guitar players who have expressed experience with what we're talking about too. So if
Yes.
you're one of them out there in the community, Paul at guitarsurvets.org. or us.
Dan, I wasn't following the most recent chats. Is that everything?
Somebody was asking about pick thickness. We're definitely going to talk about strings and picks and
Let
all
me
the
just-
other accessories later on. But in this case, that was Matt. He was asking about using a 0.73, which is about a medium. I personally, at different times, I have different picks for different functions. I like a thick pick, a heavy pick for doing lead. When I'm playing acoustic, I actually like a 0.73. So it's sometimes a personal preference, Matthew, as far as it gets down to it. What feels good? There's different types. There's all sorts of different materials. So again, it really has to come down to go to your local music store if you can, and sit there and play around with them.
Here's one to share. Here's one to share.
grab them, and bend them, and
And if
fight
you're
'em,
like
whatever
me,
you gotta do.
if you're like me and you can't hold on to the pick because it's just
yes.
you're at that point in your life where it's like,
Yeah.
I keep dropping them. Strumming, what is it called, Paul? Strum and Go, I think is what it's called.
I think
They
you're right.
actually have this Velcro that you can actually wrap around your thumb. And
Oh wow.
it kind of stays on your, if I
Yeah,
can
Blue
get this
Mountain
on
makes
right.
some, Shark Pick makes some.
Yeah,
There's
Shark
several
Pick.
that do that.
But yeah, it's wrap around your thumb with the Velcro and then just pick away. So
I would
they
just
have
say
that now.
kind of a general rule when we're talking about thicknesses, generally the thinner, you get more feedback from it. So it's flappier, and that might be nice for rhythm. That might be nice for newer guitar players. The thicker ones, obviously, there's less give. Some people like that for precision, i.e. solos, when it's more of a combination notes versus the strums. There's also differences because of that, the feedback you get from a thin pick versus a thick pick. For new beginning guitar players, the thicker pick sometimes is harder to hold on to because it just doesn't give.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. So, is that I think we have just maybe a couple minutes. We're actually in overtime right now, but thank you for your questions, everyone. And for those that we couldn't get to, please, I encourage you to just post them on the G4V Learning Center. And one of us, instructors or a community member, may jump in and get you the answers and maybe even start a nice conversation going. And with that, we've got one last thing to do. And what we would like to close out our program with from here on out is the guitar tip of the month. And Mr. Bigelow has done some research on a
My
particular
father
tip.
here?
You are,
I
sir.
love the Mr.
Wait,
Bigelow.
Wait, let me go ahead and just put you front and center. And why don't you tell us
Oh,
what your guitar tip is?
okay. Well, we're going to be talking about the 5 things not to do to clean your guitar. One thing I should say before we let me get a little quick sip here.
Yeah, no problem. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and make
Um,
sure to post the tips that he's going to share with you momentarily here, but we'll go through them.
yeah, Tom, you got a copy of this thing?
I do. Do you need me to post it, or do you want to just talk to it?
First off, I do have to say to everyone, it is a very dry season right now, even though there is a lot of snow and stuff going around. Try to keep your guitar at least in about a 55% humidity. That way everything stays kind of stable. The wood stays stable. There are various things you can get online. Just, you know, if you need to, when you're changing your strings, put a little bit of oil on those rosewood and those ebony fretboards using the conditioner. Make sure you wipe it off all pretty well. You don't want any excess of that hanging out, getting under your frets. It's not a good thing. That's not the 5. Number 1, don't have dirty hands. Clean your hands before you play. Doesn't take much.
Makes sense.
You don't have any of that, it gets off some of the oils, the extra skin. Also, when you're cleaning your guitar, if you can get disposable gloves, those are the greatest things to use when you're cleaning a guitar. All right, number 2, don't use rags you have used to change the oil on your car. You don't want to do that. While that grease and oil may seem like the best thing to use for a neck conditioner, don't forget you dropped it on the floor a few times and you forgot to sweep the garage floor. A soft microfiber cloth is the best thing to use. If you do have one, try to keep it as clean as possible. One of the storage ideas is using a couple of those gallon Ziploc bags. They work awesome for storing it. Unfortunately, all my stuff is over at my friend's house where I'm jamming right now, so I don't have anything to demonstrate this. In a pinch, though, you could use a soft t-shirt, maybe that favorite soft cotton t-shirt your wife liked, or some terry cloth, a clean terry cloth towel. So that's tip number 2. Number 3, don't use household cooking or cleaning products on your guitar. Olive oil is good on a salad, but it's not good on your guitar neck. There is one thing you can use, and actually, if you use it you don't want to use it on your expensive microfiber cloths, but if you have a nice soft cottony rag that you can use for, like I have one that I always wipe down my guitar with anyway after I'm done playing, is distilled white vinegar. It's actually excellent for cleaning the gunk on your neck, if you have a the grunge that gets behind the frets. It really takes it up really nicely. You don't have to really scrub hard, and it comes out, and it doesn't hurt to finish. If it's maple, or it doesn't hurt the wood, it'll dissipate. It's the only time though that you can actually use if you're using vinegar to do that. It's the only time you can really use a paper towel, because you don't have to worry about the paper towel lint and dust, and because you're going to be cleaning the guitar afterwards anyway, all through it. It's just for beginning to get some of the pre-cleaning done. Paper towel also isn't too bad on trying to get some of the dust off. Just make sure it's a soft paper towel, not one of those bargain basement that you bought at the dollar store, because those tend to be a little bit scratchy. All right, and let's see. I have a luthier that I work with my guitars on, and he uses a carnauba wax for polishing and oiling and making everything look really good. And there are a million guitar neck conditioners out there. Make sure it's the one for your type of wood, because maple necks usually don't need any conditioning because they're already sealed. They're all done. If they don't have a laminate top on them, they clean easy. You could even use just a damp rag on it. All right. Don't use sandpaper. This is number 4 for those that are keeping score.
What?
Don't use steel
What do you
wool,
mean?
sandpaper,
What?
paper towels,
How can that be?
toilet paper, baby wipes.
Oh,
Those adult baby wipes, don't use those. Or that oil change rag to clean your strings.
good.
Brand way it
Good.
needs to clean
Like that.
string. There are several products out there. I've actually, and it can be done. You can use a little isopropyl alcohol with that cotton rag that you took from your wife's t-shirt drawer, and pour a little bit on that rag, and
Is
go
that for laminates?
the
Is that for
strings
laminate?
individually. Try not
Okay.
to get too
It
much
wasn't.
on the finish.
It wasn't
of
for the
guitar.
wood, right?
No, this is not
Okay.
for the wood. This is for your strings alone.
We haven't even
And,
gotten to laminate versus wood.
Oh
Okay.
man,
I'm sorry. I know. We're already
we
over
are
the
already
hour,
in.
so.
So anyway, it also comes under the heading of don't put your guitar away wet. After you're done playing it for the day, give it a little bit of a wipe down, nice little terry cloth. It kind of likes that, you kind of like,
Take the dirt
giving
and
your
sweat off.
guitar a
Especially
little
if you're
love and
gaming.
care, get the dirts off, gets the
Yeah.
sweat off, gets all that. And tip number 5, and this one,
Oh
I have
this is my
skipped a little
favorite.
bit.
So
I
it's
had-
Rich's favorite too, except his was
Okay.
dishwasher.
Now we had suggestions on don't use a dishwasher.
Don't put it in the dishwasher.
Don't put it in the kitchen sink. The washing machine.
Car wash.
But the one that really is the killer is don't take a shower with your guitar. Even though it's made from a tree, it's not the best way to get to know your guitar.
Oh.
And
They
suddenly
didn't that's not in the operating manual. That's
yeah,
good thing you
right.
shared that.
All right. So seriously, guys, if you take care of your guitar, it'll last a lifetime. Try to keep your guitar in a case, or at least a climate-controlled area when you're not playing it. Hanging it is an excellent way of storing your guitar, as long as it's a nice air-conditioned area. Invest in a guitar cleaning kit. And they have some that actually have a mat and a cradle. So when you're trying to clean your guitar on the kitchen table, at least it's not going to be scratching the back, and you have the neck supported properly when you're cleaning. When you change your strings, it's a good time to clean and maintain that guitar. And this is where you can look online, and there are several videos that will show you exactly how to clean your guitar and tips on what to use and what not to use. Because certain guitars need certain love, other guitars like it a different way. So It's you got to know your guitar. Especially when you like, some of the classical guitars, especially if you have a high-end classical guitar, they may not even have a finish.
Yep.
It may be just a natural, and you don't want to do anything to those, but just dry wipe them.
Okay.
Like I said, use only the products that are made for your guitar. Let's see, there is just a whole lot of videos out there that will give you online, that will give you directions on all sorts of different stuff that goes along with not just learning to play guitar, but how to take care of that guitar. And the last thought is, you may sleep with your guitar. Just make sure you clip your toenails. That is my tip of the month. Thank you very much, y'all.
Thank
Wow.
Thanks,
you.
man. Wow.
Hey, before
Well,
we-
go ahead. Go ahead.
just before we close, I want to thank Randy and Rich and you.
Oh,
and
yes.
doing this. But I also want to say this Wednesday at 8:30 is our inaugural kickoff of the Guitar Brigade. We got two goals. It's a supportive environment we're trying to make for what we're calling newish guitar players. So these would be guitar players that maybe graduated. If you're not a new player, consider yourself more than that. We welcome everyone, because if you could see, you guys are doing awesome in the chat with giving ideas about products and things that you're using, and that's the supportive environment we're looking at. So if you want to help some of your newer guitar players, we're going to start a format that's going to be a lesson and kind of, I don't know, a socialization QA for new guitar players. So we got two of our instructors, Ken Morlino and Dave Kraut. They're going to kick us off on Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern time. You'll see the Zoom link in the feed, and our first lesson is 12-bar blues. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, real good.
Joel
I want to go
Grant,
ahead. Oh,
you're going to be on our list of people we'll be communicating with very soon. We want to talk about your guitar collection. All right.
that's right. That's right.
Wait, he's looking for that on button. Okay, got a thumbs up.
All right, everyone. Well, you know what? It's 17 minutes after the top of the hour. I just want to
We
go ahead
knew
and
it.
thank this panelist. First of all, Randy, Rich, Paul, thank you all so much. And my co-host, who you're going to be seeing a lot more of online, posting some things. Know his name, Daniel Bigelow Jr. But you go by Daniel B, I think, right?
Daniel B, everyone.
So don't be frightened. Don't be frightened if you see Daniel out there posting things about the guitar shop and some of the things that we're doing, because he too is one of our cyber chapter instructors and one of our contributors to the G4V Learning Center. So with that, I want to thank everyone once again, and we'll see you at the next live event with Paul, and then we've got another play along that's coming in February, and then on February 10th, that's when we pick up the second edition of the Guitar Shop.
Go Browns! Go Browns!
Go Browns! You know what? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Just because. Hey,
all right.
Thank you to Paul and to Tom, who actually inspired me to be able to help out with Guitar for Vets and helping out my fellow veterans. And I think we could do no better justice to learning how to play guitar or to extend the Cav Arts programs by actually having this type of a forum to be able to present to everyone. So thank you all.
Okay, everyone.
In the community.
Thank you. Take care. This has been recorded for broadcast in another time zone. So be looking for it if you missed any part of this. Take care, everyone.